Hello and welcome, Exiles. I want to talk about my Ephemeral Edge Inquisitor I'm working on in Pohx League. But before we go over that, I just want to talk about the fact that GGG decided, you know what? PoE 1 players do deserve some content before 326. We could give them something to hold over with. Now, myself and many others were kind of tilted that they weren't even willing to give us like a Legacy League, a Crazy Voided League, a throwback of something. And luckily, they decided, you know what, with all the people and all the response they got, negative feedback they got from their announcement last week, they're walking it back. They are going to reallocate some resources just to give us some events in between now and when 326 arrives. For example, they're going to give us an event which apparently has a bunch of wacky changes to the Ascendancies we know and love where they're just different. And to be honest, that sounds like a lot of fun to me. And I'm very glad that they're willing to do this if they're craving some PoE 1. This sounds like some pretty fun PoE 1 action of just having random new Ascendancies that could be fun to try out and see if we really like some of them. So yeah, I think that'll be cool, and I'm excited to play this, and I will be streaming it most likely and making some videos on it. So we'll see how that goes. And then another thing is, for Pohx League, if you didn't know, with private leagues, there's a hard cap of 20,000 slots, which this filled up within like a day. And apparently they're going to add 10K more free slots to it and hopefully keep adding slots so people can keep getting in. As of last night, there was about 8,000 people in the queue waiting to get into Pohx League. So sounds like if you want to play some Pohx League, if you want to play a little fresh economy, it's not the most super competitive economy where there's a ton of things on trade, but there's a decent amount of people logging in and creating resources, and I've been having a good time with it, and you might too. So that's pretty nice news. Now, as for the Ephemeral Edge Inquisitor, what we're playing is essentially, I didn't know what to start for Pohx League. I literally found out about it the day of, where I was like, oh, people are doing this. There's freaking 10,000 people signed up. I'm going to join too. And last minute, I was just like, okay, I don't know how. I didn't think I was doing a new league start. I didn't have any pre-planning, so I just went back to what I knew. I knew Energy Blade Inquisitor was a very good league start, and I said, I'm going to send that, farm some currency, and then just respec into something that I think will be fun and a nice little project to enjoy. And I decided on doing an Ephemeral Edge Inquisitor. As you all know, Ephemeral Edge Trickster, we played that back in Affliction League, and it was very competitive doing Valdo maps. And this league, it's obviously dominated the meta with the new Necrotic Armor, new bases. That build just took a huge power spike. And the question I would like to answer with this build is, can Inquisitor or Guardian stealing like Righteous Providence, can that sort of style, a Templar version of the build, compete with the Trickster version? Which, to be honest, I think there's a chance it can. Maybe even be better, potentially. We'll see how this character ends up going to find out if it actually can compete or even be better. The thing about Trickster is, what do you get? You get the Escape Artist, which is huge evasion, ES synergy, Ghost Shrouds. That whole pairing of defensive layers allows you to go Necrotic Armor. And you also get stuff like Polymath, Overleech. You get a lot of damage multipliers. So you get that really strong defensive node that is like the core defensive kit that just hard carries a lot of encounters. And then you get a bunch of damage to go with it. Now, to contrast that with a Templar, what does Templar get? Templar gets comparable ES scaling, maybe even better ES scaling if you're a Guardian stealing Righteous Providence, and it gets to go crit. Righteous Providence, this right here, says, hey, if you start putting a bunch of extra strength into your gear, you can actually go crit. You'll know if you look at Tricksters, they all go non-crit because you can't afford to spend that extra investment to go crit unless you have a really, really like mirror to your gear type of thing. And even then, usually they don't do it that way. But Tricksters are forced into RT. They're forced into Elemental Overload, Precise Technique generally. But an Inquisitor, if you go Shaper's Touch, you still get to get the ES scaling because your strength now gives you ES scaling. And then that strength gives you a bunch of crit and opens that option, which is a ton of damage. So the idea is, can the Righteous Providence damage carry enough to compete with all of those DPS nodes Trickster has, while also, if you go the strength and scaling, can you keep up with it ES-wise or even surpass it? Now, the big difference between those two things, the big elephant in the room, the thing you're missing still, is Trickster gets Ghost Dance and Evasion just tucked into its defensive layers just perfectly. You don't really have to stretch out or change much of your passives to include it. Whereas Inquisitor, I think we're going to have to invest maybe a little bit into things like block and recover on block, but we'll see how it pairs out. I think it will end up being decently, and we'll see how it goes. There's obviously super powerful masteries like this crit multi per ES thing. When you talk about a titanium spirit shield that's perfectly rolled, you're talking 400, 500 ES, which makes this mastery almost carry the passive point investments, which these points aren't bad in themselves. They're giving block and a bunch of ES. So we'll see how it ends up pairing out, but that was the idea of what I wanted to go with. Now, I have a T11 here, Corrupted, to showcase. We're about 73 maps deep. Most of our league start, we did Sanctum, and now I'm just getting into getting my map completion started. So I'll give you a little taste of what it looks like clearing a map on this character. Full disclosure, I just think it looks hilarious, but the Val Serpent MTX with Leap Slam, it kind of looks like a bunny hop or something. I don't know. It just makes Leap Slam look a little bit weird, but I kind of like it. And I don't like grayscale because I'm a hater. Just makes everything look bad. Eventually, maybe I'll decide I like Delirium, but I really don't like Delirium typically. So, anyways, we're not going to do that, and we're going to call it a good time. So, this character, I am doing Smite, you'll notice. Would Lightning Strike be better? Yeah, Lightning Strike probably be better. It's just a stronger skill. But the reason I chose to do Smite is because I think it looks cool, and I thought it would be fun. And that's basically as far as my logic went behind it. I wanted to click Val Smite on things. I wanted to blow up the screen and see what that looks like. And that's all there is to it. It wasn't really much thought behind the Smite choice besides I like the look of Smite. That guy's like lost in the corner there. I don't know what's like a mental lapse or something go wrong. I'm not 100% sure. As of right now, as for crit on my character, if you're curious, we are currently at about 64 crit chance. We're at 500 strength. This is more or less just a gearing thing. You'll like go through my gear pieces. None of the suffixes on my gear pieces are even close to what they want to be. You want attributes on like every piece of gear. And ultimately, the crafting currency available in the league was pretty limited when I put this gear together like a day or two ago. And it still is pretty limited. We're going to have to farm some essences and properly craft these things. But all in all, when we start doing that stuff, the crit is going to get crit capped probably without increased crit strikes. I think we'll get to that point, but we'll see how it goes as we continue to upgrade the character and whatnot. But that's what I think will happen. I think we'll get to that point. We'll see how it goes when we're gearing it all out. And then of course, just getting to press Val Smite, I think it's like one of the most fun buttons to press. It just looks so freaking cool, and it goes across the screen killing everything. So anyways, yeah, this is what the character looks like. This is the Ephemeral Edge Inquisitor. And yeah, if you are League Starting Energy Blade Inquisitor and you want some other options to things you can spec into, if you're curious, you could follow me on the Ephemeral Edge Inquisitor journey, see how it goes. That's completely up to you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out. Have a good one.